All right, thank you everybody for coming. Apologies for running a few minutes late here, but we will get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Board, like a motion to approve the agenda for November 16th, 2023 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Pushkar, Director Cook. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Up next, we have special recognitions, and I'll turn it over to Jen Joels.
Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing a music teacher at Francis Howell Middle School who was recently named a semifinalist in the Missouri State Teacher of the Year program. Out of more than 70,000 school teachers in the state of Missouri, our own Olivia Howard was one of just 17 semifinalists. In 4 of the last 6 years, Francis Howell has had a teacher advance to at least the semifinalist round of the State Teacher of the Year awards. In addition to Mrs. Howard this year, Dr. Zur, an instructional coach at Harvest Ridge, was recognized as a semifinalist in 2022. Rachel Wilcox, a first grade teacher at Independence, was named a finalist in 2020. And in 2019, Ms. Shelley Parks, then an English teacher at Francis Howell North, was named Missouri State Teacher of the Year. The Missouri Teacher of the Year Award launched in 1957 to honor the teaching profession. The winner serves as a spokesperson for the state's 71,000 teachers and promotes the profession at various events, including the national ceremony held at the White House each year. More importantly, though, the Teacher of the Year program spotlights the positive impact excellent teachers have on their students. And here to tell you more about Miss Olivia Howard and all the ways she is positively impacting kids at Howell Middle is Dr. James, the principal at Francis Howell Middle.
The Francis Howell Middle School community is extremely proud of Mrs. Olivia Howard for leading an incredible choir program, inspiring musicians daily, and being the heart of character, climate, and culture at Francis Howell Middle School. Mrs. Howard began her teaching career 17 years ago as a music teacher in the Festus School District. She followed her heart and continued to teach music classes for another 5 years in the Lincoln County School District. In 2012, Mrs. Olivia Howard blessed the Francis Howell School District and became the Director of Choral Activities at Francis Howell Middle School, where she has been ever since. I have had the privilege of working with Mrs. Howard throughout her entire tenure at Francis Howell Middle School. To see her grow and flourish as an educator and have such an incredible impact on our community has truly been one of the highlights of my career. On an even more personal level, Mrs. Howard inspired my daughter to find her voice, and she's been an active choir student for the past 3 years, pleasantly surprising us all. My dad, who grew up in choir and loves to sing, had 2 children that were not in choir and never developed the confidence to sing in front of others. Even while undergoing treatment for cancer, my dad hasn't missed a single choir concert. Seeing him light up at our choir concerts is a memory I will always treasure, so thank you, Olivia, for that. Your positive impact stretches farther than you can possibly imagine. Mrs. Olivia Howard dedicates herself tirelessly to fostering unity among our students, staff, and families by promoting music and fine arts. She also leads our community's character initiative, making a profound impact on our climate and culture through meaningful connections, acknowledgement, and celebration. It is with great pride and much admiration that we celebrate Mrs. Howard this evening as a Missouri State Teacher of the Year semifinalist.
She's not. She's down.
Yeah.
Thank you. Come on.
Next up, we are excited to highlight the amazing student journalism program at Francis Howell North High School. Students and staff recently returned from the National High School Journalism Convention held earlier this month in Boston. They took home multiple individual and group awards, perhaps the most prestigious being 2 Hall of Fame inductions, one for FHNtoday.com and the other for the North Star newspaper. To be inducted into the National Scholastic Press Association's Hall of Fame, a publication must earn All-American status in annual publication critiques 10 times in an 11-year span. So this isn't an award you earn overnight. Hall of Fame recognition is something you earn by being the best every year, year over year for an entire decade. It's a rare feat, and only 3 publications in the nation were inducted this year, and 2 of those are produced right here at Francis Howell North. In addition to Hall of Fame inductions, FHN Today TV was honored as a 2023 Broadcast Pacemaker finalist, and 2 of the FHN journalism staffs placed in the top 10 Best of Show competition in the nation. Numerous students also placed in the convention's individual Best of Show categories, and I'm going to invite Jordan Keel, one of the student journalism advisors, to the podium to introduce some of our winners.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to celebrate these creative, talented, and hardworking FHN media students tonight. As previously mentioned, from a group perspective, these students and their peers have been recognized as some of the best in the country, and Advisor Erin Manful, myself, admin at Francis Howell North, and I'm sure their families here tonight could not be more proud of them. Students here tonight with us were recognized nationally at the convention for individual work. So I'll be calling their names tonight to get a certificate. Many of them you'll hear multiple times actually, and I have Principal Mr. Jeff Fletcher here with me to give them those certificates. With that, placing in the top 10 nationally in their respective categories and earning honorable mentions were Rhea Patel and Lainey Quant in the Broadcast Feature Story of the Year category and Broadcast Commentary of the Year category. Michaela Manful in Comic Strip Panel of the Year. Parker Smith in Broadcast Journalist of the Year Portfolio. And earning top 5 finishes were graduate Amber Winkler, who's not here tonight, earning 5th place in the Multimedia Journalist of the Year Portfolio category. Again, Michaela Manful, who's already up there, earning 5th place in the Designer of the Year Portfolio category. And McKenna Hudson, as well as Amelia Pierce, who isn't here tonight, earned 3rd place in the Multimedia Feature Story of the Year category. In the individual Best of Show competitions for work created this year, Mallory Barker received 10th place for sports photography. Faith Smith, 6th place for sports photography. Peyton Johnson is not here tonight, but she received 6th place for feature photography. Ankita Pandurangi, 2nd place for feature photography. Lauren Harmon, 6th place for editorial leadership. Parker Smith, who's already up front, 3rd place in editorial leadership. Okay. Taylor Sally, 4th place in broadcast feature story. And already up front, Michaela Manful, 5th place in newspaper design. And a trio of Kylie Taliaferro, Jackson Pfeiffer, and Kenneth Nunn, who's not here tonight, 1st place for newspaper design. And finally, numerous students were honored in the National Student Media Competitions hosted on-site at the convention. Those were Drew Johnson, who received an honorable mention in news writing. McKenna Hudson, who's already up front, received an honorable mention in feature writing. Lauren Harmon, already up front, received an honorable mention in yearbook cover and end sheets. Sadie Cotton is not here tonight, but she received an honorable mention in literary magazine poetry. A duo of Max Ramirez and Maddie Clark received an honorable mention in broadcast package. Faith Smith, already up front, received an excellence in sports action photography. Peyton Johnston, who's not here tonight, received an excellence in photography portfolio. And last but not least, she's already up front, Michaela Manful, a superior in the graphic design infographics. Thank you so much for recognizing these awesome students tonight. You guys can stay up front for a photo.
Everybody look here, and then you can look everywhere else. All right, big smile. All right, you can look everywhere else.
Congrats, you guys.
You guys are awesome, seriously. Great job.
Might be one of our largest board recognition groups ever, and it still amazes me. These are all national awards, so incredible. Good job, you guys. Okay, next up is our student board representative. The purpose of the student board rep program is to honor and recognize talented students, elevate student voice, and provide growth opportunities in the areas of public speaking, leadership, and governance. Students are selected for this honor by their principal with input from the student body. They have an opportunity to prepare and deliver a short speech to the board and public that is focused on their school or the district. And with that, I'd like to invite Principal James back to the podium to introduce our student board rep from Francis Howell Middle School, Dr. James.
I am honored to recognize Salpernika Nambiar as the Francis Howell Middle School Honorary Board Member Student Representative this evening. Salpernika is an incredible example of a hard-working, respectful student whose dedication shines through her exemplary traits of respect, responsibility, perseverance, and kindness. She maintains a 3.97 GPA while being actively engaged in theater, mentor program, band, jazz band, yearbook, and Viking voice. Salpernika displays a profound sense of responsibility in balancing her academics and commitments. Salpernika is genuinely kind, consistently demonstrating empathy and support for her peers, making her a true role model in our school community. Outside of school, Salpernika enjoys swimming, taking vocal lessons, traditional Indian dances during the holidays, and just recently celebrated Diwali with family and friends. When asked to describe Salpernika, each and every one of her teachers had incredibly kind words to say about her that portray her character. I will share a few highlights with you this evening and share them all with Salpernica. Her character connection teacher, Mr. Hughes, said, "What a fantastic kid. She is polite and hardworking with a take-charge attitude. She instantly made our new student welcome in CC. Academically strong and character-filled, Salpernica will represent us well." Her math teacher, Mrs. Stiles, said, "Salpernica is the sweetest. She is definitely one of my favorites. Super kind, amazing at math, driven, and a natural-born leader. She's going to do amazing things. She should be so proud of everything she's accomplished so far, and I would expect great things from her." Her ELA teacher, Mrs. LaMarche, said, "I truly love having Salpernica in my class this year. She is a kind soul, and she is always respectful in her interactions. She really loves to read and is constantly checking out books from my class library. Her favorite has been the City of Ember series, which she read for the 3rd time in my class, I believe. She is quiet, but when you get her talking, she has the best sense of humor and is happy to teach you about her background and culture. Salpernica, you are an incredible young woman destined to do great things, and we are honored to have you representing Francis Howell Middle School this evening."
Thank you to the Board of Education for this opportunity to speak tonight, and to my mom and dad for bringing me here. My name is Salpernica Nambiar, and I'm a 7th grader student at Francis Howell Middle School. I have one brother and one sister who go to John Weldon Elementary. I enjoy going to school at Francis Howell Middle School. My school is a very welcoming place where you can easily make friends. The teachers are really nice, and they help you with everything you need and any questions you may have. My favorite classes are ELA and band because I love to read. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I love to play music with my friends. The after-school clubs and activities are fun because the teachers always find creative ways to do activities and events. I really like being a representative on Viking Voice. It feels good to share opinions and work together to improve our school. The adults aren't going through what the students are going through every day, so we have better insight and know what's going on with everybody. As students, we have ideas for improvement for our breakfast and lunch program that meet everyone's dietary needs and culinary interests. Another area of improvement we identified is the language that is used in our hallways and how we speak to one another. We will be working together to make sure our hallways reflect our core values of respect and kindness. I look forward to being part of the discussions this evening that will help Francis Howell, the school district, continue to improve. Thank you.
This is normally the time our student board rep would take a seat with the board, but she is actually going to help Dr. James and some other students present our spotlight presentation tonight, also from Howell Middle on the Viking Voice program. So I'll invite Dr. James back forward to get that started, and then our rep will take her seat at the board after.
Good evening again. We are so excited to celebrate with you our Viking Voice. This is a new initiative at Francis Howell Middle School, intentionally designed to honor student voice, strengthen students' sense of belonging, and increase our attachment rates. Viking Voice is an important action step in our climate goal of our school improvement plan and will be measured by our student climate data and attachment rates. Currently, Howell Middle has a 40% attachment rate, which we are very excited about, but we do anticipate that growing. Our goal is 45%. We think we're going to surpass that with the addition of Viking Voice and a couple other clubs in December and January. I have 7 incredible student leaders with me tonight that are going to be presenting to you this evening that I would like to introduce. Harper Grazer, 6th grade. Zakiah Petty, 6th grade. Logan Lang, 7th grade. Sapernika Nambiar, 7th grade. Natea Lomax, 8th grade. Ryder File, 8th grade. And Harrison Phillips, 8th grade.
Throughout the year, students meet with principals, teachers, and support staff to voice their ideas, share suggestions for improving our school, act as thought partners as they connect with fellow students and build their leadership capacity alongside students from other CC classes. As Viking Voice leaders, it is important for us to be a voice and not an echo. We need to stand up and say what needs to be said and model doing the right thing, not just follow and echo others.
Studies have shown that students that feel as though they have a voice in school are 7 times more academically motivated, experience more self-worth, engage more, and feel a higher purpose. In addition, we spend 37.5 hours a week at school. School has a profound impact on our lives and experiences, and it helps shape our futures. The school is for the students, so the students should have some input on the way they learn, the expectations, and the celebrations. As students, we have the potential to influence positive change in our school and community, and we can offer valuable insight, thought-provoking questions, ideas, and experiences to help administrators make better decisions.
So for our first meeting, we mostly focused on relationship building and getting to know you questions. We think that it is most important to connect with one another and learn about each other. We answered 3 questions. Where are you from? What do you want people to know about you? And the most important question, why is Viking Voice important to you? This activity helped us to get to know each other and learn about each other's backgrounds. I was surprised where students in my group were from, like California, India, Louisiana, and different parts of Missouri. We also discovered that we had some things in common, like why we wanted our voices heard.
We learned about the structure for future meetings, and we also learned how to facilitate meetings in the character connection classes. And we know the process as a team and talk about the circle of control.
In our small groups, we talked about what we felt like the adults at our school should know and how we as a school community can improve. As Viking Voice leaders, it is important that we try to find a way to validate everyone's voice and make them feel valued. After our first meeting, we went back to our CCs to share about our role and get their input on what they wanted the adults to know and what areas our school could improve. As Viking Voice leaders, we narrowed it down to the top 2 and brought what we got from our CCs to the meeting we had with Viking Voice. We think it's important to try to get everyone's voice and see what we can improve and fix.
At our November meeting, we discussed the top 2 ideas that we wanted adults to know and how we can improve our school. We recorded in small groups and created posters for the Gallery Walk of Ideas. Some of the ideas that my group shared were hallway behavior needs to improve, our golden ticket should be more equal amongst all students, and food in the cafeteria should be more inclusive of all religions, cultures, and dietary needs.
As Viking Voice leaders, we also got to provide some additional feedback, sharing our opinions, ideas, and concerns on specific topics. Our feedback was then shared with several groups of decision makers. We shared our input on our golden tickets, which is our positive behavior recognition and celebrations. All of our input is on our FHMS behavior team agenda for the staff to discuss tomorrow morning. At the student council meeting this afternoon, student council was reviewing our input on the pep rally and future spirit weeks. We also got to start coming up with ideas for our field day. And finally, we shared our thoughts, opinions, and ideas about our cafeteria and student breakfast and lunches.
Throughout our consensus building, these are the top 10 things we wanted our adults at Francis Howell Middle School to know. Hallways and cafeterias were the most frequent referenced, but additionally, we wanted to be active in our learning and feel that at times there are missed opportunities to engage more in the classroom. We would also like the adults to consider no homework on the weekends, since we have a lot of students who are very busy with sports and other outside activities on the weekends, and no homework would give them an opportunity to breathe and decompress. We also wanted to explain some of the social language kids are using that adults are clueless about. The adults aren't aware of the slang that the students are using. They will not be able to understand how to address the situation when hurtful things are said and how they can impact the student.
At our November meeting, we had a gallery walk, and we built consensus through the spend a buck method. This honored everyone's choice and narrowed it down to the top 10 things that we want the adults to know and the top 3 areas of improvement in the school.
After our November meeting, each Viking Voice representative was responsible for holding a post-meeting with their character connection class. We shared the top 10 things that our students want the adults to know, which Dr. James shared with the staff in the weekly memo, and the top areas for improving our school that we will be working together as a school community to improve.
In the cafeteria, we have some areas in need of improvement. The last lunch has sometimes run out of food, and we need a new sound system. Sometimes the food quality is a concern, and student behavior in the lunchhouse isn't the best. We also need to work on students cleaning up their messes, and there are incidents of disrespect and discriminative language. In the hallway, students are not walking with a purpose or walking very slow, and are stopping in hallways, resulting in students being hurried to classes. Again, we experience disrespectful and discriminative language, students grabbing backpacks, and at times squirting each other with water bottles. Our 4 core values are respect, responsibility, perseverance, and kindness. We are not following those values if we are not following the rules.
As a result of student input, Viking Voice is looking forward to meeting with Sodexo on December 7th. We plan to start this meeting sharing the highlights and positives of what we think is going well, and then share some things we would like to improve and share new ideas for menu items.
Also, we will talk about how us students speak to each other in hallways and in the cafeteria. We need to treat each other with respect and kindness, and there should be no place for disrespect and discriminatory language. As Viking Voice leaders, we will be working on this together and make a positive change and so each other respond.
It's not advancing. There we go. It won't advance. Sorry, we're having some slide issues.
Sorry, we have a few slide issues there. Our students' insights and experiences can positively impact their education and contribute to a thriving school community. As educational leaders, it is our job to honor student voice and create a culture that promotes it. I encourage you all to consider how we are prioritizing student voice in our district and seek opportunities to engage with our students, listen to their concerns, and involve them in decision-making processes. We would love for you to attend a future Viking Voice meeting, open invite, to connect with our amazing students who are truly making a positive impact on our school community. Thank you for the opportunity to let us share about and celebrate this incredible student group this evening.
Welcome, Supernika. We're so glad you're here. On behalf of the board, we'd like to welcome you to your first ever board meeting. So please feel free to jump in if you have anything. I will share my microphone. If you want to say anything out loud, you can participate as much as you want, but you just can't vote, okay? Everything else, no. If you have any questions, just go lean over and ask, all right? Welcome, we're glad you're here.
Definitely welcome. Up next, we have patron comments. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign-up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you've taken the time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect the speakers will remain civil and respectful with their given remarks. If anyone fails to comply with those board policies, regulations, and rules, we reserve the right to cut those 3 minutes short. For your convenience, the 3 minutes clock is ready. I'd like to welcome Alexander Collins.
Hello, I'm Alexander Collins, and I'm back again. I'm a student at Francis Howell High School, and I was here last month, as well as the month before, speaking in opposition of the proposed first read of the highly discriminatory policy 2116. I'm back, after standing at this podium 3 weeks ago, when I specifically described the traumatic experience of being sexually assaulted by someone of the same sex in a Francis Howell High School girls' bathroom. Afterwards, concerns were raised to me by some members of the community about the fact that no one from the board reached out to me to check if I was okay. I received not a single response or follow-up from any Board of Education members or any Francis Howell School District administration or staff. Despite the fact that we hear so much about policies and strategic plans put in place to provide theoretical systems of support for all students, none of you seem to mind that very real assault and harassment is actually happening in the schools you serve. To more accurately present the concerns I have with this policy, I want to talk to you more about the safety of LGBTQ students in your schools. According to national polling, 75% of transgender youth feel unsafe at school, and those who are able to persevere had significantly lower GPAs, were more likely to miss school out of concern for their safety, and were less likely to plan on continuing their education. That doesn't reflect well on Francis Howell, which prides itself on our outstanding academics and amazing culture. When schools have required students to use bathrooms and locker rooms based on their sex assigned at birth, transgender students have seen a rise in restroom sexual assaults of at minimum 26%, often up to 60%. When 1 in 4 of us are already assaulted every single year. Teens who have experienced sexual assault are also 4 times as likely to attempt suicide as those who haven't. And with transgender teens already at a 50% attempt rate, I don't have to do the math for you. Or do I? You're putting children in danger. It's not only mental repercussions, but physical as well. Transgender youth who express their gender identity but are required to use facilities matching their genitalia anyways often avoid using restrooms altogether due to harassment and fear, which can cause increased risk for dehydration, urinary retention, urinary tract infections, impacted bowels, and long-term kidney failures, as well as urinary cancers. So I'm back. I'm back to beg you to please reconsider the damage you will do to our students. I'm back to hope that maybe you'll listen for once. For whatever reason, Policy 2116 has been temporarily postponed. I stand here before you asking you to do better, Francis Howell. Listen more closely, value the life experiences that we gender diverse students endure. Happy Trans Awareness Week. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to use the bathroom.
Up next, we welcome Chris Hyman.
I became concerned after hearing Jane's comment at the September board meeting alluding to a forthcoming bathroom policy. I emailed her, and I'd like to share her response. Thank you for your email. What I think you don't understand is that there is a lot of collaborating and discussion with any changes we as a board make. It's not my rule or my bill. Every word will be run past legal before any of us get to vote. And yes, I believe I am protecting all children. As I mentioned, what are you as a parent going to do when the majority of the kids get upset and walk out of school because they don't want to share bathrooms? You're going to call and write and complain to the board, of course. And how are you going to react when a young lady gets raped in the bathroom? Oh, complain to the board, of course. Are you willing to sign a document holding yourself liable if any of these things happen after you've pushed to have co-ed bathrooms? Since the beginning of this country, men and women, boys and girls, have all been segregated in bathrooms. I see absolutely no reason to change that now, especially since a proposed 1.2% want their peers to succumb to their pressure. A few things about that email. Turns out it's Jane's policy. Turns out it's very wrong to ask a parent in the district to sign a document assuming liability for rape. Hello, Francis Howell Legal. Director Bertrand removed policy 2116 from a vote tonight and said some board members need more information. If that's true, I've sent emails to all of you offering conversation, information, and education. Silence. I'm asking the board to vote to disclose advice you've received from legal counsel regarding policy 2116. The community deserves the transparency that you ran on. Although Randy would like everyone to believe this is impossible, it is very possible with a board vote. I have a transgender son. I know firsthand how badly trans kids can be bullied. I know the stats, I know the anxiety, and I know peeing at school should not be discriminatory. Director Bertrand thanked the Post-Dispatch earlier this week for keeping Francis Howell in the news. This is not the attention we want at Francis Howell. Finally, there's not a single person in this room who does not know how to get in touch with me. My offer of education on the impact of discriminatory bathrooms still stands. Legal action is not a threat. It is a promise. Thank you.
Next, we welcome Becky Hormuth.
Well, happy Transgender Awareness Week once again. Like Adam said, I am Becky Hormuth, and I am a 20-year patron of this district and an extremely proud parent of a 16-year-old transgender son. This week, my family and so many others have taken time to celebrate, but most importantly, we aim to educate and advocate for the rights and well-being of all transgender individuals. On Monday, November 20th, many will honor all transgender individuals who have lost their lives due to the anti-trans violence on Transgender Day of Remembrance. Sharing awareness and understanding are very difficult to do in this community, where you, the elected leaders, disregard the overall needs and well-being of a particular group of marginalized students, the group that my son belongs in. With your continued derogatory comments and actions that you have portrayed these innocent students as an inherent threat and instilled fabricated panic over what? For what reason? Many have continued to ask for the data, the proof, the need, yet we get nothing. But occasionally we hear a snide comment of, it's common sense. Oh, and you never know what a transgender's intent is in a bathroom. We continue to listen to as our transgender students are misgendered or disrespected constantly in adult conversations on social media or in your media interviews. Most recently, President Bertrand sarcastically posted how blessed he felt for having his picture in the newspaper this week. Blessed over a policy that is blatantly oppressing our students, or would be if passed. Unfortunately, it was only a matter of time before this board would contribute to a culture of intolerance and sending a message that certain students are not valued and respected. And looking back, 8 months ago, President Bertrand, you proudly posted on Facebook your own version of a transgender policy. A policy full of anti-trans verbiage and discriminatory ideas in which restrooms and locker rooms were also listed. We asked you, a group of parents, what exactly is this necessary and needed for? You shrugged and smugly responded, why not? I just want to reiterate from last month that if this policy passes, my husband will be pursuing legal action against the board and the Francis Howell School District.
Next, we have A. Coletti.
Good evening. I'm a student within the Francis Howell School District, and I can't even begin to explain how disappointed I am to have to be step up here on a school night to talk about the horrid experience students like I have experienced in your school buildings. These schools are meant to focus on our education and well-being, and yet we don't feel safe in your schools. We feel like our safety is at risk at all times, and I can't even walk at the hall without having someone scream at me rude things that no one should ever have to think about hearing. Most of my life I attended either private or online school, so having the opportunity to go to a public school seemed like a chance to experience new things like being able to meet different kinds of people, educate myself in a variety of new subjects, or experience fully funded school activities as well as other things. Little did I know, along with all those opportunities, I would have to be up here in front of all of these people explaining how your recent decisions are unjust and unconstitutional, because apparently the reports and emails don't seem to be reaching you. You claim your policies are common sense and keeping kids safe, and recently you've been actively setting queer kids, especially transgender students, up to be targets for harassment. Speaking of harassment, I, on multiple accounts, have tried to report many irking cases that occurred in your schools, such as myself and others being openly ridiculed and had things thrown at us in halls, or the times I heard multiple students in your schools yelling derogatory slurs back and forth across the commons, the gyms, the parking lot, or the classrooms, and more often than not, intended to offend other students. And close to every time I told it wasn't worth reporting by admin assistants. Imagine having your boss tell you that issues that threaten your safety and the safety of others weren't big enough issues or worth reporting. That would be a shattering and self-deprecating experience for your self-worth. School is meant to encourage others to try different sports, clubs, and classes, and yet there are some filled with students and teachers that make queer kids like myself feel unsafe and unwanted, and the ones that are welcoming are on the verge of being removed or severely underfunded. The thought of many of my friends and classmates leaving school for the sake of their well-being and safety or making life-changing decisions to escape the fears of entering schools we're required by law to attend is gut-wrenching. You claim your schools are welcoming and safe for all, and yet a large percent of the student body does not feel that way. In the future, I implore you to reconsider your approach to student safety, because right now it doesn't include all students. The policies you have and are trying to pass are unacceptable, and at the moment, I'm ashamed to have some of you be the face of this district.
Up next, we welcome Adriana Kuhn.
Hello, I'm Adriana Kuhn. I'm coming to the board today because I have 2 children in the Francis Howell School District, and I want to show my support for Policy 2116. Thank you for putting together such a well-written, clear, and common-sense policy that protects all the children in the Francis Howell School District. It's a major concern that we do not have a bathroom policy in place. And since we do not have a bathroom policy, there are currently no consequences for biological males entering female restrooms or locker rooms and vice versa. I think we can all agree that when a boy, any age, is appropriately using a urinal and a biological female walks in on him, that is very uncomfortable and unacceptable. This is one reason we have restrooms labeled girls or boys. Also, when a biological male is allowed to walk into girls' locker rooms while girls are naked and changing, this is also unacceptable and extremely inappropriate. Why are we subjecting our children to this? Why are we forcing our children to expose themselves to the opposite sex? It is wrong to sacrifice the privacy and safety of many students for the desire of a few. Additionally, Policy 2116 is a necessary policy for trans students. Without this policy, there is no alternative option for trans students who feel uncomfortable or safe using their biological sex restroom. None of our students should feel unsafe about something as simple as using the restroom. And without this policy in place, each school has no direction and no requirement to open up single-use restrooms to trans students.
I urge all 7 board directors to move forward with a bathroom policy to ensure the safety and well-being of all 16,000 plus students in the Francis Howell School District.
They're your tax dollars.
They are.
Mine too.
Next, we welcome Stephen Blair.
There's just so much hurt in the room. Anybody else feel it? Couple things. One, Alexander Collins made a report of experiencing sexual abuse, and the board, district staff, you heard it. It's time to follow up. Viking Voice made a report of discriminative language. It's a problem at their school. We all heard it. Board, district staff, we're liable. The bathroom bill that was presented was logistically impossible. In one of our schools, there are classrooms that are 550 feet from a unisex bathroom in the nurse's office. It takes 2 minutes and 10 seconds to walk there, and that is without hundreds of kids in the hallway with their big backpacks and stopping to talk, things the kids do. The passing periods are 5 minutes long. That does not give enough time for onesies or twosies. It is the same for other rooms and for other schools. For everyone here, when you use the bathroom, because if this meeting goes long, you'll need to use the bathroom, do not use the ones right outside our doors. They are 60 feet away and 15 seconds away. Walk 550 feet, 2+ minutes, and see if it feels like discrimination to you. The bill is also financially irresponsible. The fact that it was presented by our treasurer is concerning. It doesn't include any supporting documents about how much the district will spend on lawyer fees or how much we expect to lose in the lawsuit, because we will lose like other districts have lost. And if you want this bathroom bill, you can pursue a bathroom bill, but make sure you tell us how much money it will take to retrofit our schools to make the bathroom bill possible. How do you expect to pay for it? Could President Bertrand and other members share what you have learned from our district lawyer and architects during your board comments later on tonight? Transparency would be great. This bill is filled with political ideology without concern for facts like distance, and time, money. That's not what you want from a school board. When I got my driver's license years ago, the first thing I did was drive to my friend's house and go to my favorite restaurant. I couldn't wait. And when this new majority received the keys to the district, it immediately used that power to remove a resolution that says racism is bad, to limit students' education by blocking teachers' continuing education, to create a bathroom bill aimed at trans students that is logistically impossible and financially irresponsible. You approved Brain Pop, but some of your supporters believe that you will rescind that in the future for political reasons. And tonight we'll discuss communism. Of course, communism is bad. Of course, but why is it coming up? It is because all these views are also supported by moms.
Your time is up.
Next, we welcome Adelaide Minton.
My name is Adelaide Minton. I am a student in Francis Howell School District, and I am here today because I believe our public officials, especially our school board, should be held to a higher standard and held accountable for their actions. 2 weeks ago, I reached out to every member of the school board concerning policy 2116, a policy that would result in the harm, othering, and harassment of my transgender peers. I received disrespectful responses from Director Pushkar, who dismissed my opinion, accused me of threatening her, accused me of not writing the emails I sent, and finally threatened me with an investigation of my school email account. I believe that the ability to disagree respectfully with others is a core part of our democracy. These values should be reflected in the words of our public officials. I am shocked and disappointed not only by the lack of professionalism displayed by members of the board, but also by the general disrespect for the voices in our district. After being informed of this investigation, I reached out to every other member of the board and received professional and respectful responses from only two of them, Chad Lange and Janet Stiglich. The head of the board, Adam Bertrand, confirmed that I was being investigated, but did not clarify the cause or extent of the investigation. He refused to take responsibility for the board's lack of professionalism and denied that I was being silenced. Director Bertrand, asking those who do not agree with you to stop reaching out is silencing. Intimidation from a public official in a place of power over me is silencing. An actual investigation of my school email account is silencing. This board spends its time bullying, demeaning, and disrespecting students instead of focusing on real issues. Real issues such as class sizes, teacher retention, janitorial and bus driver employment, and building security. Instead, you elect to sunset anti-racism policies and propose harmful anti-trans policies. On top of that, you threaten and investigate those whose views do not align with your own. I am a child, a student in this district. You are adults and public officials. You have not only behaved unprofessionally, disrespectfully, and shamefully, but you have also used your position of power to attempt to silence and bully me. You harm students not only in your policies, but through your treatment of us as individuals. I am here today to demonstrate that Francis Howell students will not be silenced by the adults and public officials meant to represent us. To my fellow students, the board's reaction to my messages is a testament to the power of our voices.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Miss Annie is acting as a media representative.
Next, we welcome King Gonzars.
Board, Superintendent, and patrons, I'd like to bring to your attention a couple of disturbing matters. During last month's school board meeting, there were a number of people in the audience waving LGBTQ flags, wearing shirts proclaiming love, inclusion, diversity. And when those with opposing views got up to speak, many of those people were rude, discourteous, interrupted, and prevented speakers from continuing. Is this what love, diversity, and inclusion looks like? These people behaved like ill-mannered bullies. Some were even FHEA, teachers participating in such behavior for our children to see. Recently at a school board meeting, a teacher gave a chilling perspective of diversity and inclusion. She said, "You're always allowed to pull your child from the public schools and either homeschool your student or send them to a private school that aligns with your values." This was spoken by a teacher. Recent posts on the social medias and emails received by some of our school board members, as well as at Francis Howell families, have been hateful, hostile, divisive, and vulgar. May I suggest to the board that if such interruptive behavior continues in our board meetings, that additional time be afforded to those who speak who are interrupted. Second point, a couple of weeks ago, the board and for some reason the Francis Howell Forward Political Action Committee received a letter from a trans rights activist threatening lawsuits. In my opinion, the letter was meant to intimidate, induce fear, and to bully the board into rescinding policy 2116, the bathroom locker room utilization policy. The letter quoted case law and spoke of the burdensome cost of compensatory and punitive damages against the district, possibly to the tune of millions. This letter further pointed out the budgetary crisis that the district could experience. That's exactly what would happen if these lawsuits prevailed. And for what? So a biological girl can use a boys' bathroom and locker room? Think about it. We have roughly 16,000 students in our district, and for less than 1% of this population, these bullies are willing to bring lawsuits that could harm and jeopardize the education of all of our children, and further jeopardize the fragile fiscal position of our district. Patrons, when you vote in April in the school board elections, note which candidates support these lawsuits and accept the endorsement and financial backing of these extreme left-wing packs.
Thank you. Your time
which-
is up.
Up next, we welcome Artie Goffney. I hope I pronounced that right.
Hello, my name is Artie. I'm a queer student at Francis Howell High School. It's my second year in the building and my third year in the district. I'm here to talk more about the bullying issue in this district. I have been personally bullied at Francis Howell High School, and so have many of my friends and peers. Students in your schools do things such as calling other students slurs, throwing objects at them, verbally degrading them, etc. In fact, there are even students who bark at us like animals in the hall. On behalf of myself and all of my peers, this is absolutely gross and unacceptable. Behavior like this makes me feel unsafe and unwelcome to learn. I come to school to learn, and I should be welcomed into the community just like anybody else. My friends have made numerous reports to the school about their experiences regarding bullying, just to be told it's not worth reporting or that the problem is simply ignored. The school district claims to have a no-tolerance bullying policy. However, when it comes to LGBTQ youth, you do not enforce this policy and do little to help. According to the Human Rights Campaign, 29% of transgender youth, 21% of gay and lesbian youth, and 22% of bisexual youth have attempted suicide. Bullying is a direct factor that negatively impacts mental health. Bullying should be treated as the problem that it is. I know from firsthand experience that it has been an issue in the district for several years. Instead of focusing on where we use the restroom, perhaps focus on the real problems at hand. Please keep us safe and allow us to learn in a bully-free environment. Thank you.
I'm going to apologize up front for this one. Nancy Slazarski.
I knew it would be a problem, so it's okay. So I acknowledge that policy 2116 has been tabled. Having said that, I'm going to speak to the intent of 2116. During last month's board meeting, at comments, an attendee said to everyone, that everyone has a bathroom to use. What's the problem? Well, here's the problem. According to major news sources, such as Fox 2, CNN, NBC, to name a few, from a May 2019 survey of nearly 3,700 U.S. teens aged 13 to 17. The survey found that 36%, that's nearly 1 in 3, of transgender and gender nonconforming students who attended schools that instituted restrictive bathroom and locker room policies reported being sexually assaulted in a 12-month period after policies were put in place. From this same survey, the percent of sexual assault and harassment in general student population was 26%. So you can see that these are appalling numbers all the way around. It does show that there is a 10% increase among gender nonconforming youth as compared to the general student population. Policy 2116 would likely increase incidents of this nature. This policy would out transgender kids and make other gender nonconforming students more visible targets for assault and harassment simply by being noticed using single-use bathrooms and other locker room facilities. Ms. Putzgar, when you talked about preventing the rape of a child in the school, a young girl, I'm going to assume that you meant a cisgendered girl being assaulted by a transgender girl. Please correct me if that's wrong. Naturally, I wanted to see if this was a legitimate concern. I found in my research this is not, and I could find no valid reported incidents. This is simply a made-up issue. For those of you who don't have children, You know, this is an issue, academic in nature. For those of us with trans kids, policies like 2116 are painful. You know, it's anger-inducing. It's an assault. It feels like you dismiss our experiences and our children's very humanity. That you can remain calm under these circumstances is not a result of your objectivity, but rather your privilege. In the future, should policy 2116 come up for a vote, I urge you to vote
Thank
no.
you. Your time is up.
Next, we welcome FHEA.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Rumpus, Executive Cabinet, Francis Howell staff, parents, patrons, and students. This week, we would like to celebrate the amazing educational support professionals in the Francis Howell School District. These fantastic team members make it possible for us to focus on our students, and our student success is a direct result of their dedication to Francis Howell School District. Yet again, we have policies being brought for a first read that were never presented to the policy committee. While we know that the board has this right, isn't it important to have these policy revisions, or even policy revisions mandated by the state law, are presented to the policy committee before first reading at the board meeting? The policy committee exists because it is a best practice to get input and troubleshoot new ideas. We have to ask ourselves, if it is really a policy that is needed and good for our students, why wouldn't you want input from this committee made up of stakeholders? We also saw that one board member had questioned about the expensive Canvas. The decision to choose Canvas for our learning management system was a monumental one. Educators have invested thousands of hours in the past 4 years creating modules and lessons and activities and quizzes and tests, most of which would not transfer to a new program. The price tag is simply not the only consideration at this point. FHEA would like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and hope everyone is able to enjoy their friends and families. Thank you.
FISPA.
Good evening, President Bertrand, Board, Superintendent Rumpus, Cabinet, and patrons. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and we believe there is always something to be thankful for. One thing we are at Francis Howell is dedicated. It's National American Education Week, and we would like to celebrate all staff and all departments that strive to provide an excellent education and safe environment for the children of the district. But we would also like to highlight a few things tonight. Firstly, did you know that FHSD is home of the Fab Five? How did our students get so lucky? Educational sign language interpreters are required to obtain a basic Level 3 certification through a vigorous round of written and physical evaluations. FHSD is truly unique because we are the only district to have our entire team of 5 interpreters certified and licensed at a Master Level 5. This is the highest level obtainable for the state of Missouri. Their combined years of service is over 65 years with our district. This shows their commitment to all students and their loyalty to Francis Howell School District. They have the skills and expertise to work anywhere, but they choose to be the Fab Five at One Howell. Secondly, our custodial department is getting closer and closer to being fully staffed. There were some bleak times the last few years with staffing. All the work we have done together and continue to do for our staff shows. The benefits and raises are what retain staff. But also, when it's consistent, it makes it easy to recruit. So thank you to our department and their heads, Admir, Dennis, and Saloom. We are all in this together, one Howell. Hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving, and I appreciate your time.
All right, board, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda for November 16th, 2023 as presented. Second Ponder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Next, we'll have some information from Ms. Embry and Mr. Stutzer to present on Prop S.
And this evening, Saloom's approaching the podium, and he will be joined by the architect representatives with Honer and Associates.
Good evening, board members. At the October board meeting, you provided input and feedback during the schematic design presentation phase. The feedback was clear in the desire to pare down the presented scope the best we can while providing some alternates for some phases of the proposed scope. The team has just done that, and Mr. Ruther and Mr. Welch with Honer Architects are here to present the pared down design development phase for your consideration and approval and vote, so we can move into the construction document phase for the purpose of letting bids. I'll turn it over to Mr. Ruther. He'll lead a good part of the presentation.
Thank you, Saloom. I'm going to just jump into it here. Got it. I'll just jump into it here. Thank you very much for allowing us to come up here. As Saloom has mentioned, we are here to present the information that you had asked us to go back and revise from our previous presentation. The district-wide security vestibule package will be we're presenting on Henderson, Fairmont, Central School Early Childhood Center, Hackman Early Childhood Center, and Meadows Park Early Childhood Center. I'm also going to just mentioning that in December we will bring revised and revisions and updates for the Henderson and Fairmont additions and renovations. I want to jump over this as just basically orientation of Henderson Elementary School, and then go directly into a little bit more detail of that same plan. And this is just the existing conditions that we were at last presentation. We did provide a photograph there of there was some discussion about an electrical panel and the location where we were actually putting in the transaction window. So we wanted to show you that just so you had a little bit of reference to that situation. So here what I've done is, our team has gone back and we provide and kind of break it up so we can identify a little clearer as how we're approaching it. There's yellow that shows the renovation areas, the security vestibule itself, and I want to pause for a second and identify the next slides that I show. All the security vestibules are basically designed in the same template or understanding as the other 13 security vestibules we had done 2 years ago. So we were basically put together that effort that the security vestibule, when you come in, you're going to be in a area that's going to be with a transaction window immediately to your right or to your left, so that you're containing the occupants or the people when they come into the school itself. The other area is the white. We've basically taken out any of the designation of areas in the buildings that are not going to have any work done. We try to clarify that so you can see where we extracted that scope of work from the plan. The bid alternate, in this particular location, you can see that there were bathrooms when we had to renovate the yellow area and the actual locate a desk in the location where the transaction window is. We had to reconfigure the administration area to provide additional desks in a location where if someone walked away from that desk, there was someone else that could basically look and take care of that window, that transaction space. The alternates there, as we move things around and we're very in close proximity to those areas, we added the bathroom, the ADA bathrooms, and then also took some space out of that teacher's lounge that will be nothing more than patching and replacement to where we make room for those areas. Next is the Fairmont renovation. And again, this will blow up to the existing conditions. So you have a little bit of reference on the existing conditions there. And again, in this area, in this same identical situation, you walk into the security area. In this particular case, the transaction window is to the left, and trying to keep all the administration area in the administration area per se, and so then any rooms or any spaces in that in the administration area that we had to move or relocate in the areas of white that represent just areas that we're changing names around, basically identify or take out scope in those particular areas. With relocating some of those spaces, we have the areas identified as the ADA toilet for the special ed. It's also accessible from the corridor itself. Move on to the next. Central School, ECC. Again, the existing conditions. Again, as you enter the building, you enter into the security vestibule, the transaction window to the immediate right. We had to relocate an office in that particular area to allow for the transaction window. And one thing here I want to clarify, that there is an alternate that's been added to provide, because we've taken a space in this area, there's a conference room, and we put an alternate together to provide for that additional space for the conference room. We have, through the design and through trying to provide ways to take scope out, we think we might have, this is an area that we really have to consider possibly being in the base bid, because we've eliminated a space, a conference room, that we tried to put in as an alternate. We think that really needs to go back in that area as a conference room and build those walls. That's a minimal cost, but we just believe that's in an effort to try to reduce the cost. We've taken a space out of the administration that does not house a conference room up in the administration area. Go on to the Hapman Road, which is very similar in nature. Again, the existing conditions, and I move on to, again, the vestibule. Immediately when you walk in, contains any occupants that are coming in with or visitors, and then with the transaction window immediately to the right. And then again, the areas in the yellow show the renovation. And again, I want to back up and basically say that the areas, how we've reduced scope is by basically just going in and doing work on the areas that is necessary to get the transaction windows and the security vestibule in. In this particular case, again, where we have the transaction window to put, we had to remove or relocate an office. We put it back where we have an alternate. In this particular case, we think that office should be included in the base bid, because that would eliminate a space where a teacher or an administrator would be out in a bullpen area, which would not have the same function to be able for privacy and things of that nature. They really need to be able to have the space so that it doesn't impede or take away from the person's use in that office. Next one is Meadows Parkway. Again, the existing conditions. We move on. Again, this may be the more one of the most straightforward areas where we come into the security vestibule. Immediately to the right is the transaction window. We relocated an office just to the right of it in this particular case, and this one here is pretty straightforward. No alternates on this particular case, but very straightforward. Go to the cost estimates here. When you look at the first cell here, the first line is what we presented back in 1026. Identify the cost. You go down Henderson, Fairmont, Central, Hackman, Meadows, Parkway, came up with a total of $975,000. Then the soft cost, furniture, projected soft cost at 10%, design fees and things of that nature to get to a total of the $1.13 million. Through the design and through your request to remove some scope out of the project, we were able to identify areas of the bid scope and some alternates in that particular area, and we've reduced that. If you look in the green of the green line of 719, let me go to my, I have a hard time reading that, sorry. 719,000 for basically a change in scope or a reduce of scope of $255,000, $970. So that there represents what we were able to extract or take out of scope to be able to make that, get those costs down. We would look at potentially, like I had mentioned, those two other areas, if the board chose to put those two offices back in. We're looking at it roughly around 9,000 to 10,000 at Central, and we're looking at about $15,000 for putting in the office back in. And what that is, that's relocation of some ceiling tile, putting in the walls, and things of that nature. But I wanted to bring to your attention, that was just not reducing cost, that was reducing scope in those areas to get to a scope that the board wanted us to try to achieve. Last thing I'm going to get to is the schedule review. Again, basically we're at November 16th with the design development review. We're ready to move forward, authorize bid documents with direction from the board, and authorized documents put out on the market on the 21st of December. At that point in time, we would put those documents to a permit review for the jurisdictions having authority. At that point, look at then receiving bids, award a contract in February, construction period in June to July, and complete construction in August. So the one thing I do want to bring to your attention, that we talked about this at the last meeting, was we're getting to a point, and there was some things that were voted upon last week. There's projects that are starting to get out there, and I just want to make sure you're aware that we're in a good position to get this project out on the market with your direction, as far as being able to get those things out there, get them ordered, things ordered, so we can keep the schedule going on time. With that said, that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much for your time.
Questions, comments, board? Discussion.
I have a question for you. So the security vestibules, do you have, I know it says right here that the construction's completed in August 2024. Is there any guess that you would have to get those security vestibules done before that? Not commenting on how, I'm not commenting on all the other actions that are involved. I'm just talking about, as you know, I've been very interested in getting those security vestibules in as soon as possible.
Great question. As Mr. Ruther just noted, we feel pretty good right now, but obviously, there were some ballot measures in the St. Louis area. Various school districts, their voters approved some funding to make some renovations and construction updates, and so we're getting to a point where we do need to move forward. Right now, we're sitting at a pretty good spot. But that's volatile in terms of whoever's in front of us, maybe, with their packages out, material procurement and those things. We won't know what that looks like until we really let bids and open them on bid day. But as of right now, based off of looking at market conditions and the basic information we have right now, we feel if we maintain this, we'll be able to achieve getting those vestibules done in time, summer 2020.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. I noticed that this is pretty scaled back from the last meeting that we were at. Have the principals of those schools all been communicated with, and have they shared any concerns at all with the change in the scope of what some of the changes were going to be?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And obviously, as I noted earlier, the board's desire was to try to explore where we can really pare down some scope. And so we're pretty limited in terms of how much we could go back and engage them. But we did go back and refine the best that we can and shared those with them. There were a couple of principals that did come back to us and inquired about specific spaces. And Mr. Ruther touched on that this evening. There's really two offices that need to move from alternates into the base bid because they're current offices that serve individuals who perform job functions that require privacy, and so those really, the feedback was those need to move into the base bid piece.
You have forgive me, I just don't remember this from the last scope, from the last meeting. In Fairmont, the proposed design development scope in this one includes looks like a new canopy. Was that in the last scope? It was? Okay.
And the reason for that, when we met at the building level, if you look at most of our others secure vestibules, there's an overhang. So when folks are getting buzzed into the building, if you have rain or snow, whatever the elements may be, they're under a canopy. So we extended that a little bit to be able to incorporate that, to provide that, for our community.
Saloon. So I know you went by and talked to Meadows Parkway. So
Yeah.
I stopped by today. She had some concerns out there. And what did you think of the proposal or her suggestions and stuff out there on that?
In terms of secure entries, what you always try to do from a standardization standpoint is to try to funnel and make sure that most of your transactions are with the front office. And so what the principal there has proposed, we want to take a look at that. Partly it may work, but we want to also consult some of the industry professionals from a safety standpoint, because typically you try to make sure that the security vestibule really serves as a man trap and interact with the office. In her proposal, to the left, you've got a large space that I believe it's a large instructional space and serves different purposes throughout the day. And you really want to try to segregate and protect those individuals in the event that something should happen in that secure vestibule. So we've just got to kind of look at that, and we can definitely provide some feedback in terms of what would probably be the best way to move forward.
Yeah, because me as a obviously engineer or architect or anything, but it made sense when you look at it and some of the reasoning behind it also for meeting spaces. And I understand having a door in the secured zone, but I figured a locked door would kind of still be in a secured area.
True, but then when you consider that door probably has to always be in a locked state, and so that's going to require a staff member, if meetings are taking place in there, that's going to require a staff member to walk through the security vestibule, unlock the door, and we just really got to look at that and make sure that we're being prudent from a safety standpoint.
Okay, so you are going to follow up still with that site?
We certainly can at your direction.
So Chad and I both met with Principal Calkins at Meadows Parkway today at different times. But she presented to me the same thing she showed Chad, and I took a second here to draw it up, and that's the sheet I passed out. This is kind of what she's proposing. I agree with Chad on it makes a lot of sense on its face, and it appears to save quite a bit of money to boot, which is always a nice feature of anything. So just for everyone who wasn't there, this is the plan is really to a lot of the office renovations that were proposed in the slides. Those really go away. You make a larger security vestibule area, and then that space off to the left, which would be accessible from the security vestibule. It's labeled as instructional space, but the principal there informs us that
It's meetings.
right, it's for meetings and parent meetings, and Meadows Parkway has certain screenings and other things that students come in for while the parents wait. And at some schools, the parents wait in the car, and Meadows, they have this space so the parents can wait inside. And they don't know those parents a lot of times, like they know the regular parents. So yes, that door would be locked. She had mentioned some options about a button lock that they can do from their office or whatnot. But this is generally the plan if the board would be willing to entertain a motion to have them revisit Meadows Parkway with these changes or with these ideas.
If I could just offer this before the board provides direction on there. What I'll tell you is, in my professional career in the last 15, 20 years, obviously security's been at the forefront of school safety. And professionally in the last 3 years, I've overseen about 30 secure entry vestibules throughout my prior experiences. And in those particular situations, the standard has always been to try to really protect and not have meeting spaces and or alternate spaces where people are going to be gathering in fairly large sizes within having access to the secure entry vestibule within itself. So I just offer that, and I would probably also state that we probably want to just kind of consult some security folks, that look at this and kind of see where we're vulnerable for consideration before really making a permanent recommendation to move forward on the proposed change.
Additional questions, discussion board?
Yeah, just a couple. So at Henderson, the ADA, refresh my memory, are there currently any ADA facilities, ADA toilets at that school?
Respective to the areas that we're looking at right now, none of those are currently ADA compliant.
Okay. And then so this would be a benefit, and these would be access to students and to faculty if needed, or simply faculty?
Predominantly right now faculty. These are faculty restrooms.
Okay. And then as far as, because I know in my industry, there's been a crazy increase in the price of steel pipe in the last 2-3 weeks even. How accurate do you feel that the pricing is in what we're being presented tonight?
So if you look at the scope, really, and I'll let Honer, Mark, and or Wade chime in here, we don't have a whole lot of structural steel in this work. What we have is a lot of aluminum storefront, and I don't know, are we seeing any price increases in that right now? Typically, also January is when a lot of folks in that industry kind of revisit their pricing model in the new year. And typically that's when we'll see increases. We haven't received any communication from kind of our partners in that area on what that might look like. But from a structural steel standpoint, we don't have very much in the proposed scope. Just a lot of aluminum storefront, and pending what January prices may look like, we do feel pretty good about the market analysis from the pricing that we've shown on that prior slide.
Okay, so with you saying that, so these will go out for bid. We're not going to receive the bids till February, but we're still confident that these prices are going to be at this cost or below.
I'll let Mark speak a little bit more to that, because obviously they're seeing packages kind of go out right now, and they're maybe able to extrapolate what that might look like.
Yeah, because I just want to make sure, because in your schedule, we're talking about awarding contracts after the time when you're talking to vendors are going to be saying, these are our new prices for this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some may, obviously it ebbs and flows, and some may increase, some may, keep them status quo. We just won't know. Obviously, the supply and demand drives quite a bit of that as well.
As Slim had referenced, we do keep a handle on that, and unlike 3, 5, 10 years ago, we wouldn't hear. I mean, we would know when things were going up for prices, but now we're getting regular information as far as things are being price increases and things of that nature, because now the vendors are actually giving that out to us. We have seen in the past year or so, things have started to level out. One of the things we are seeing, though, is the workforce is just not there. There's some of the variation as far as the workforce, and that's partly why we want to get out there and try to get these things, the contractors, get their work backlog up and running. But as Salim also had stated that the metal, the storefronts, that's something that's going to be big. There's a lot of drywall, but there's a lot of labor. I mean, it's just labor that's really going to be driving a lot of this, because they're small little projects. Management of each one of those is going to be critical. But as far as the steel, there's some piping, but there's not anything other than the storefronts that there's a lot of it there. So hopefully that answers your question. All we can do is react to where we're at. And right now, we're seeing things leveled for the point in time, but it's the workforce. We're seeing a lot of contractors who can't find a workforce.
And if I could add, my bigger concern, from my vantage point is the labor piece. We're getting into peak construction season in terms of when packages are being put out on the street for construction managers and general contractors to bid on. And so if we get into a situation where a lot of packages are ahead of us, and those who choose to chase our work, they may bid at double time in terms of, in order to meet the schedule. It has to give somewhere. So it's all kind of supply and demand from a workforce standpoint. The later we are in the game and getting our packages out there, the more the market becomes really saturated, to where anybody that chooses to chase our work may be in a position where they may double up, charge premium time in order to kind of, meet the schedule, as well as just the labor market at that point in time. So that would be a bigger concern, at least at this point in time. But obviously, we'll keep tune with that and notify executive leadership here in the short term if we see any substantial swings one way or another.
Regarding the other two early childhood centers, Hackman Road and Central, I also met with those principals today just to look over the plan and with them and get their opinion on what's proposed here. Janet, kind of to your question, the principal at Hackman Road was good with what we have proposed here tonight, the revised plan. Promised I'd mention that the carpet there is 14 years old, and we're going to try to blend it or mix it, which, not a big area, but that's something that I don't know how that's really going to work. Maybe that's in there already, but that was really her only concern with this. And walking through the space with her and looking at everything here, I agree this is a good plan. On the Central Road Early Childhood Center, we have revised the scope down on that one, or the architects have. And that one, the principal there had a little bit more concerns because we're removing an office and creating a conference room, and then you mentioned a future office alternative that you thought would be a necessary bid alternative. And in that case, she was more pleased with the presentation there in October because it just added 2 offices instead of an office and a conference room. And she said that office that's going away is being used by a speech language pathologist, and she's got another speech language pathologist that's basically in a makeshift walled room in one of her other rooms. And not knowing much about what that position does, it seems like that would be something you'd want a one-on-one space for, especially at that age, to not have any distractions. But so on that one, the principal there was, asked that the October plan there be revisited. Generally, I would support that also. The difference in cost isn't substantial between Central from October to today. But after meeting with them, that's the feedback that I got. Which, again, that comment, I agree with both of them.
Anything additional, board? All right. This time I will entertain motions. I may suggest if we make motions that we do them one by one and make it easier rather than one giant motion for all of them.
I'll make a motion to accept the Fairmount Elementary renovations as presented.
So moved.
Director Cook. Director Pushkar. We have a motion on the floor to accept Fairmount as presented, because there's no bid out there, it's just one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it.
I'll make a motion to accept the Henderson Elementary renovations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Cook.
I so moved.
Just for clarity, Director Cook, your motion around the bid, the base scope or the bid alternate?
Well, it's my understanding it's both. We're doing that as a bid alternate, right?
That is correct, yes. Yeah, we'll have a base bid to bring back to you as well as the bid alternate.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the Ackman Road Early Childhood renovations as presented.
So moved.
Under. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it.
Make a motion to move forward with the Central Early Childhood renovations as presented at our October 26th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Just to clarify, your motion is to move forward with the recommendation or the plan that was presented at the October meeting.
Correct.
Any discussion on that, board?
Does anyone need to see that again?
No, I got it.
Can I just ask a clarity question? Obviously, that was just kind of in schematic design, so you want us to adopt what we showed you guys in schematic design and develop it into construction documents?
That's correct. That's the intent of that motion, right?
Okay.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it.
And I'll make a motion to revisit the Meadows Parkway Early Childhood Center revision to the proposed plan of November 16, 2023 sheet that's been presented here today.
So moved.
Ponder. Just to clarify, your motion is to review that again based on the commentary from the principal of the site.
That's correct. Take that, and I'm happy to, I think, I don't want to speak for the board, but I would be happy to meet as soon as possible with a work session or a quick meeting, a Zoom call, however, to have that presented, if you can do it within a week or whatever, as soon as possible.
We'd be happy to. You've provided kind of what that should look like. We'll go to work on it and consult a few folks just to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward from a security standpoint. And then we'll make a recommendation back to you for your approval.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To approve the purchases over $7,500 as presented.
So moved.
Second. Stiglich, Ponder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Next, we have the financial report presented by Ms. Embry.
Good evening. This will be my shortest presentation since I've been here. Don't start that time around. This is different, so I may need help. Oh, wrong thing. That's why it was different. Thank you, Ms. Howell. So this evening, we have posted for you our standard reports and documents, and there's one in particular that I'd like to pause and just talk a little bit about. It's a report that my intention is that we'll present it every single month. That way you will have in front of you every single month where we stand on our projected ending fund balance by fund. And so within the budget, it's called a budget amendment and transfer report. And within that, it provides you that numerical information. It provides changes by object level and by fund. And then we have added to that a narrative document. It's attached to that same posting. So sometimes, again, there will be very minor changes or no changes at all. But if there are major changes, those will be represented within that report as well. I do want to tell you that relative to that which has been posted this evening, a comprehensive analysis is continuing on our health benefit trust fund or our self-insurance fund, and we are looking at the performance so far this year. We have seen spikes in utilization, and we want to make sure that we are providing you the best information possible. So that is underway, and we'll plan to bring that to you during the December meeting. We're doing that with Marsh & McClellan. They're the representatives that came and presented a few months back on health insurance. So this first slide is the general budget summary, and you may remember that this is one of the 5 components required for a budget per Missouri statute. So we did provide you with a general budget summary when the budget was recommended. And what this shows you now with the anticipated change recommendations that we provided for your consideration, our fund balance at June 30 is now projected to be 29.71%. It does show you by fund how much that is. And so we'll go ahead and unpack a little more of this for you. So within that document, there is a summary for revenue and a summary for expenditures. Again, this is by the primary object level. So we've divided revenue by local, county, state, federal, and then other district, which is more frequently than not, it could be tuition to other districts or them paying us. It could be contracted transportation services, that type of thing falls under that category. Under expenditures, it's our standard primary categories again, salary, benefits, purchase services, supplies. We have debt service and capital projects, and then capital projects bond listed as separate items, so you can see the changes in a summary fashion between funds. This shows you a little more specificity regarding the total for the year so far for revenue, budget amendments, and transfers. And so you can see during the November line, that is the first time that we have anything impacting between funds. If we've had other transfers that have been posted during previous board meetings, they must have been within the same fund. So as we continue through the year, you'll see those additional months added, so it will represent all the months July through June for the fiscal year. This is that same version for expenditures. Again, November is our first budget amendment that we are providing you this fiscal year. This gets into the detail, a little more specificity by object code. This one is for revenue, and it shows you each of those funds impacted. And I'll highlight for you just a few things. In total, we are recommending a revenue increase for the general fund by $1,801,752, an increase to the teachers fund of $3,513,040, debt service $2,366,196, and capital projects $75,592. Now, most of that is relative. You can see the total across each line. The very first line represents our current taxes. So we shared that with you during previous reports that when we bring the budget amendment to you, it will reflect the tax levy and the assessed valuation data that was used to calculate that in September, the levy that you set. We've made other adjustments throughout our revenue projections based on the best information we have available to us at this time. On the next slide, it's a similar view, and this time it is expenditures. And so you can see we've made some minor adjustments among various object codes, again noting that there are no changes to the 6200 area, and we especially have limited changes on the salary area as well at this point in time. I'll remind you, there's a reminder slide at the end, but I'll say now, I mentioned before, we're still meeting with our leaders of departments, and we will continue analyzing the current year budget as we conduct those budget meetings in preparation of building the FY25 budget. So we anticipate those wrapping up by the end of January. I should mention on that one, how do I go back? Top? No? I'm sorry?
Middle one? Or is there a bottom?
Yeah. It is definitely a user error here, my friends, I'll tell you. So on the expenditures, I'll give you those totals. General fund is $1,132,590 for expenditures. We have a teacher fund reduction of $74,590, and then the capital fund, we have an increase of $300,000. There was an offset on the revenue side, and that's relative to the safety grant that the district was awarded from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Okay, so this slide is replicating for the most part the general budget summary. The primary difference is that it does include a change, whether it's a deficit or surplus of the funds from the start of the year to the end of the year. And we know that we have more budgeted in the bond fund than what we anticipate using this year. We likely will go ahead and come back with a budget amendment reduction to that once some other decisions are made relative to Henderson and Fairmount. And again, it mostly replicates, it still shows that 29.71% ending fund balance June 30. This is a slide that is familiar to you now. It shows our progress. So again, other than the Health Benefit Trust Fund, we've taken a look at all of our funds and all of our recommendations for you at this time. We'll continue working toward developing that multi-year projection document. The intention is to provide that to you in December to help you prepare for reflecting on opportunities for changing the budget as we move forward. And then we'll monitor the budget as we move forward. I already referenced that we're still conducting those budget leader meetings. And this is that reminder slide as well of our budget development calendar. So we're in that phase of reviewing current year and preparing for next year. And next up will be collective bargaining starting in January and continuing through May. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
Yeah, Carol, I have a couple. Sorry, Ron. One of them is how and why did DESE have to approve the transfer, and do they have to approve all transfers?
So the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education provides districts with information regarding the maximum guaranteed tax-based transfer that's allowed by district. And so there's a particular calculation for that, and it is basically limited to 7% of the state adequacy target. and that is multiplied to our prior year WADA. So for last year, our actual transfer allowed was in excess of 6 million. We have 6 million estimated. It was just over 6.8 million. That information typically comes out, I think, in November each year, so we don't know the actual amount this year. We may bring you a recommendation within that transfer section that adjusts that slightly. And DESE doesn't actually approve it, but there is an expectation that we are providing that to the Board of Education for approval, and that's why we include it within this budget amendment and transfer form, so you are fully apprised of where that recommendation stands. And that's a transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund to take care of our building assets.
One more thing. Can you explain why the teachers fund decreased by 75,000?
I can. So on that object, we'll see if I can do this. I'll just pull this back up real quick so you can see that.
Yeah.
That's not the
That's
one?
it. That was it.
Oh, was it? Okay. Whoops. Uh-oh. Here I go again. Okay, yes. Okay, so I'm looking at the papers so I can see the numbers. In this situation, if you look at the line that represents supplemental pay, 6131, there's a decrease of 4,590. And if you look down into the left one column, you see there's an increase in general supplies of 4,590. So those are offsetting, but between fund. And those are relative to some tutoring budget allocations in a building, and there was a desire to shift it between the supplemental pay to supplies, to increase supplies. And I'm sorry, and then the rest of that, so in this district we had budgeted in planning for a short-term loan that we have determined we didn't need to borrow money to meet payroll this year. We've talked about that because our fund balance percentage supported making it until we receive primary revenue in December and in January. And so budgeted was $35,000 for interest and $35,000 for fees. So that's savings for the current year.
Okay. I just want to make a comment that I hope at some point we can take some actions necessary, to address the issue of ensuring that all the teachers are rewarded for their experience, their time spent teaching. I've heard, as have many others on the board, that teachers have missed some steps, knowing that that might be a heavy lift to do all at one time. Hopefully, maybe we can layer the approach to get it done and to reconcile it. Something to think about or plan for in the future.
We'll get those financial projections developed so that you can have all the information you need and the recommendations to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a question, I have more of a comment. Thank you for making this much easier process here. It's the narration, and it's a lot easier for us after all these years. It's came a long way of understanding this a little bit more easier. So more thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Board, I'd like a motion to approve the October financial report as presented.
So moved.
Pushkar, Director Ponder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Next, Board, I'd like a motion to approve the additional early childhood special education positions as presented.
So moved.
Second. Pushkar. Goodrich. Ms. Simpkins.
President Bertrand, I don't have anything to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about our request for the additional staffing for early childhood.
Any questions, Board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. All right, Board, I'd like a motion to approve the summer school proposal as presented.
So moved.
Second. Stiglich, Ponder. Any questions, Board? We have a presentation from Dr. Garland.
Dr. Garland and Dr. Lammers are our director. Dr. Garland is our director of elementary and middle school, and Dr. Lammers is our director of curriculum and high school, and that other duties as assigned. Part of that includes the behind-the-scenes work it takes to lift our summer school programming off the ground. And so they've wrapped up last year's summer school programming. You saw that report come last month in. This month, they are here to tell you a little bit about what they have planned for the coming summer. So we'll turn it over to them.
First, thank you for the opportunity to present our proposal for the 2024 summer school program. Dr. Garland and I are pleased to share with you the district's plan for the summer program. It offers both remediation and enrichment to students in grades K through 12. And as you can see from the chart that we have up, oops, sorry, I gotta speak into the microphone as opposed to swaying. As you can see from the chart, the district offers many choices for students and families. Our summer program is very popular with our parents and with our students, and is considered to be one of the most robust programs in our area. It provides high quality student learning at a value to the district's fund balances. And to start, I'd like to introduce Dr. Garland, and she can share information about our elementary offerings.
Thank you. I'm actually going to share elementary and middle school. Let me go ahead and flip the slide here. All right, so a little high for short people. Okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm going to just take just a quick minute just to kind of highlight some of the summer programming. This year we're proposing to continue to offer our elementary summer success program, which is solely focused on reading intervention for our K-5 students. We plan to offer this program at 2 sites, which is typical. This year we worked with Saloom to determine which sites would be best to host based on work being done across the district and just everything in general to make sure that logistically it worked. And we're proposing to house that program at both Harvest Ridge and Independence. You may remember last summer we made a change to our summer programming. So typically our summer program for elementary ran a full day. And last summer we made the change and switched to 2 half-day sessions, an AM session and a PM session, in response to Senate Bill 681 and to try and mitigate some of the challenges that we were having staffing summer school. What we found out is that we did see an increase in enrollment based on Senate Bill 681, but not at the significant levels that we were expecting. So this year, as we do every year, we look at all the data that's tied to our summer programming. That would include just our student progress and growth data, as well as our parent and teacher surveys. And after analyzing all that data and just having anecdotal conversations with our principals and our leaders that oversaw those programs, one of the themes that kind of emerged was that for elementary, while it was nice to have that half-day program, it really probably wasn't enough time to do the really targeted interventions that were needed for our students who are served for this program. So this year we're proposing a change to go from that half-day programming, which was 2 hours and 45 minutes last year, to a 4.5-hour program this year. So we kind of feel like this might be the maybe middle ground in that it's going to give more time for our teachers to intervene, and it's still a desirable amount of time to attract teachers to teach the program. But I'm really excited. I mean, I'm excited about that because it's changed, but I think it's going to be really, really good for our students. I'm really excited, though, to present our enrichment side of things, which are our camps. As you know, our camps are very, very popular. And we plan to continue to offer the same 4 camps, which are STEM, robotics, studio art, and then the sports and fitness. And all those camps will be offered for 4 weeks in June, same as our summer success program. Becky David will be our host site for all of our enrichment camps. But this year I'm excited to share that we are proposing to add 3 additional camps for our elementary age students. That being a strategy game camp, which would be offered all 4 weeks, a music camp, which will be offered all 4 weeks, and a culinary camp that will be offered 2 of the 4 weeks for our summer programming. All right, so on to middle school. Not a lot of change for middle school moving into this year. We'll continue to offer the middle school summer success program, which is for our middle school students. It's a full day and it's focused on reading, math, and then those students also have the opportunity to participate in PE and some elective classes. This year we're proposing that Sager be the host site. working again with Saloom and transportation to ensure that logistically where we were housing our programs, we could meet the times and get students to and from in a very efficient manner. So we're proposing, like I said, for this to run at Sager. Also, middle school will offer 4 enrichment camps, same as we offered last year, which was our STEM camp, our app camp, theater camp, and biomedical camp. Both the STEM camp and the app camp will be offered all 4 weeks of the summer. The theater camp is just one camp that's offered all 4 weeks because just the amount of time that it takes to, their culminating activity is a production. And so it takes a lot of time to put that together, to get everybody in their roles and just the whole 9 yards that goes along with that. And then our biomedical camp will be offered 2 weeks. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lammers to share his highlights on high school programming.
So at the high school level, we're running a handful of offerings. The first one is our credit recovery program. So this is designed for students who are behind in credits in order for them to recover some credits for classes that they have previously failed. The proposal is to host it at Francis Howell Central, so we're using the same campus for Sager and Central to maximize transportation efficiency there. And last year, the program was held at Francis Howell High School, and Francis Howell North will be demolished, so we can't hold it there. The credit recovery is offered in person only. We have offered virtual credit recovery in the past, and the success rate wasn't as strong with that, so we offered the in-person credit recovery. Students had the opportunity to take 1 full credit of class, so a first semester class, and then a second semester class. So there's a 10-day session that's first semester and a 10-day session that's a second semester. We schedule out 60 hours of instruction there. And then for camps at the high school level, one of the things that we're adding this year is an ACT prep camp. That's going to be added for the summer, or for this summer, because in the past we would allow students to enroll in the 4-credit ACT prep class and then stop attending after the first week if they take the June test. And so we're just kind of separating those 2 programs now. So there's an ACT prep camp that is designed to prepare students for the June ACT national test. We'll offer our Max Scholar Summer Academy and our AP prep camp as well. And then for the credit advancement opportunities, we're going to run 2 different sessions. In June is our in-person credit advancement. This allows students to work ahead and take some classes to free up some space in their schedule so they can take more electives and things of that nature during the regular school year. It's mostly in person, although health and personal finance will be offered virtually as they have been in the past. Again, students in credit recovery can take up to 2 classes or 1 full credit. And these classes, the in-person ones, they will run 3-hour sessions for 20 days. So they can do a morning one and an afternoon one in the month of June. One thing that we're adding this year is a virtual credit advancement option for the month of July. We have seen an increasing number of students over the past several years opt to take virtual credit advancement courses through the Grandview, Missouri School District, through their program called MOSI. And last year we saw a significant increase where we saw well over 400 classes taken by over 280 Francis Howell students through that program. And they did that in the month of July for a whole host of reasons, but maybe they're playing travel sports or going on vacations and things of that nature. So in order to keep them with us, we're going to offer virtual credit advancement in the 3 classes that were most commonly used by our taken by our students last year, which would be health, personal finance, and they called it 9th grade PE, we call it personal lifetime fitness. And then just to align with our strategic objectives academically as a district for college and career readiness, we are going to also offer a 4-credit ACT prep class in the month of July as well. We are proposing to offer those courses through our partnership with Launch. And of course, we have to figure out how we're going to pay for the summer school program, and we do collect ADA from DESE for our summer school offerings. And so the projected revenue for the summer programming based on historical enrollments and the program offerings and the times and all of that. Our projected enrollment is just over 1.8 million, or revenue is just over $1.8 million. And if we subtract out how much it'll cost to pay our staff, how much it'll cost for bus transportation and supplies and services, that putting the revenue over expenses, we would project to clear approximately $80,000 based on the calculator that DESE provides to school districts to plan for summer school. Our objective every year is to run in the black on summer school. So, with all of that, do any of you have any questions for Dr. Garland or I?
Questions, board?
Yeah, just for speaking for, like you just mentioned, every year, it's a little late now, but what I would have liked to see maybe moving forward, or if you can bring it back, it's not too much work, to figure out what the numbers, these same numbers were on the last slide for the 2 prior years. Since you're changing the amount of hours and things like that, it would be nice to have something to compare it to.
Yes, I can absolutely provide that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for it?
Well, a couple of questions on, in the elementary school summer success, is that by invitation only, or is that for anyone who wants to enroll?
Prior to last school year, so prior to Senate Bill 681, we invited students on a tiered basis, starting with those with the most need. And then it was a 3-tiered system. When Senate Bill 681 passed last year, what the legislation stated is that we have to invite, let me back up. If the district offers a summer program, we're required to invite any student that is reading 1 or more grade levels below. So currently what we're doing is we're inviting the students who qualify under Senate Bill 681, given that it is strictly for reading intervention.
Okay, and then also on elementary, are the camps free again this year by?
Yes, they're free. However, transportation is not provided to and from camps.
Okay, and then on transportation, maybe this is a question more for Carol. Heads up, Carol. Is the summer school transportation factored into our efficiency rating for transportation?
Last I knew it was not. I mean, it's not a qualifying service, so, but I'll check into that.
Okay. Does it count against us, though? Well, yeah. We can.
Jim Simpson says I'm correct, yeah.
And then for high school on credit recovery, you mentioned first and second semester is offered. If a student needs credit recovery on, say, second semester of algebra, do we allow that student to audit the first, basically the first semester's worth of credit recovery class as a refresher or a catch-up?
I've never had that request, but that is something that I would accommodate if that request came forward, yes.
Yeah, the intent being if they...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's all I got.
Quick question on the virtual classes. My daughter was one of the ones taking classes through Grandview. She liked it, but I think she would prefer to take it through Francis Howell. I know this is the first year probably, and there may be changes in the future, but is there any plans in the future or even this year to let other students outside of Francis Howell or purely just Francis Howell, and then going forward in the future, is any thought, consideration be given to that?
I mean, that is something that we could consider. Yeah, that's not something that we have in the books or in the plans for this year.
All right, just curious. Thank you. Anything else, board? All right. All those in favor to approve the motion to approve the summer school proposal, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ms. Simpkins to present us information on the 2025-2026 school year calendar.
I'm saving all my time from that last agenda item so I could use it today.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me, board. I just wanted to share with you a draft of the 2025-2026 school year calendar. Our practice in Francis Howell is to create and approve a calendar 2 years out. This really allows for our families and staff an opportunity to plan ahead for breaks and vacations and hopefully increase attendance on those planned student contact days. This is a first draft, and we'll give an opportunity at the end for community and staff to provide some suggestions and inputs before we bring a final calendar to you next month for your vote. I wanted to share just a little bit of history, as some of you are new to the Francis Howell calendar, and I think it's a good reminder of where we came from and how we got to the calendar that we use today. Beginning in 1975, we're going to go all the way back for just a little bit. The district operated on 2 calendars, one for elementary and one for secondary. The need for the year-round calendar for the elementary schedule was necessary due to very high enrollment at that time, which resulted in our school buildings quickly reaching capacity. The decision to implement a 4-cycle year-round arrangement was an alternative to split sessions where some students would come in the AM and some would come in the PM. The decision to go to a year-round calendar schedule at elementary was a financial one made due to the unprecedented enrollment and circumstances at that time. In 2009, the district created a calendar task force to create the 11-12 school year calendar. And the task was really to review the calendar for fiscal, achievement, family, and staff impact. At that time, the district was operating on a single cycle at elementary, and all students attended 174 days, but on different schedules at elementary versus secondary. For each day that occurred, that elementary and secondary were on a different schedule, the district spent approximately $28,000 in additional transportation costs, for a total of about $764,000 per year. In addition, by reducing the number of student days from 174 to 169, there was additional transportation savings. The task force at that time was large. It included administrators, parents, teachers, a board representative, and FHEA. And they worked to create a calendar in which both elementary and secondary would follow the same schedule and reduce the number of contact days. However, in order to meet the number of required student contact hours, each instructional day was increased by 5 minutes at that time. The recommendation included keeping the teacher work calendar at 185 days. The memo at the board at that time indicates that teacher professional development would occur on those 5 days, 4 hours in length. These shortened days would count as part of the teacher's 185-day contract as full days, and that would offset the additional 5 minutes of work time each teaching day that was necessary to reduce the number of student days down to 169. And this is still followed today. The following year, administration recommended a calendar with minor tweaks after living this new reality a little bit. And one of those changes included an additional PD day for teachers because the state teacher meeting day was eliminated. So this became our 6th PD day that we have in our calendar today. In 2014-2015, we negotiated with FHEA to add 2 full PD days to the calendar as part of the 6.5% salary increase that was provided to teachers, increasing the work calendar from 185 to 187 days. In the 15-16 school year, we negotiated again with FHEA to add 1 additional full PD day to the calendar as part of the 5% increase that was provided to teachers, increasing their work calendar from 187 to 188. However, our tax levy did not pass, and we were unable to sustain this. In 2016 and 2017, we froze salaries. And then in 2017 and 18, we froze salaries for a second year and negotiated to remove those 3 full days from the calendar, bringing it back to 185. And that's where we are today with our teacher contract. Finally, on July 11th of 2019, Governor Parsons signed legislation barring districts from setting an opening date of the school year that is more than 14 calendar days before the first Monday in September. This rule really reduces our flexibility that we have in creating our calendar. And since the law began, staff and families have responded to past surveys that we should try to start the school year as soon as we can so that we can continue the fall break and winter break and spring break that we have come to have in our calendars. So we convene a district-wide calendar committee anytime we are considering a significant change in the calendar. When creating the 2020-2021 school year calendar, we did form that committee as we were setting a new start date that was different from our history in Francis Howell. The following year's calendars have followed that same format with only minor changes just depending on how the dates fall. Therefore, we did not convene a large calendar committee for this school year, and we haven't done that since the 2019 year. After creating the calendar, administration seeks input from our district leadership team, and we also provide the calendar to the FHA president for review before bringing the draft to you. I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk about all of the different parameters and considerations that we take into consideration that really limit the flexibility. It's like a lever. When you move one, the other has to move as well. And so it's difficult to get everyone's preferences included in one calendar. So we are creating one calendar for all levels because we have learned that that's fiscally responsible, and it also allows our families with students in multiple levels to be on the same schedule. The 2019 legislation does bar us from setting an opening date from the school year. That's more than 14 days from the first Monday in September. That really changed the start date in Francis Howell when that law came to be. Starting with a shortened week is always desired. We hear that often from our families and our staff. However, if we do so, that limits our number of days available for fall, winter, or spring break, or pushes our end date past May. And so we have, since the law came into place, started on the first Monday that it's available to us. We create equal quarters and semesters so that students have an equal number of class days, depending on the electives that they choose. This was reviewed very thoroughly with our middle school and high school teachers last year, as we really tried to consider a calendar last year that would allow those finals to be taken before winter break, but that really threw off those semesters quite a bit, and our teachers that were part of that conversation said that those equal quarters and semesters were important in the curriculum that they were providing. Francis Howell families, our staff, and our students have come to appreciate fall break after first quarter. A majority of respondents and folks that I speak with say that that is an important part of our culture in Francis Howell. It was introduced shortly after the elementary transition from that year-round calendar to a more traditional calendar. We try to incorporate 2 weeks of winter break and 1 week of spring break whenever we can. The breaks really do provide an opportunity for our staff to recharge and for our students to take a break. I would also share that the fall break is a great retention tool for our teachers. They have come to enjoy that break. We discussed teacher PD and how those days came to be. Research indicates that our professional development is most effective when it's relevant and participants have an opportunity to immediately practice what they learn. And so spreading out those days throughout the calendar provides time for our teachers to practice what they've learned, and also for those that are presenting or creating that professional development, an opportunity to plan good PD for our teachers. Election days, several of our buildings are utilized as polling sites when it's necessary. The election authority really determines when our buildings are going to be needed, so we schedule 2 of those 6 professional development days on those election days in case our buildings will be needed. It really does make a difference in the logistics for the building, whether it's parking or the use of the common spaces like the gymnasium, and provide some safety as well. We do try to schedule the last day of school, not considering snow days, before Memorial Day. The start of the school year, the lengths of the breaks, and how the dates fall really will impact that. Graduation is hosted at the Family Arena. This allows our graduates to have the opportunity to invite as many guests as they'd like for their big day. But due to other commitments at the venue, our graduation is held yearly on the first Saturday of June. So that also creates a factor for when we're looking at the final days. And then when it comes to snow days, it's important to remember that we are required to have students in attendance for 1,044 hours each school year. And so we use a combination of built-in days, AMI days, and traditional snow days to meet the state's requirement. So let's talk just a little bit about the big ideas for the 25-26 school year. Our returning teachers would return on Monday, August 11th. Students would return on Monday, August 18th. The recommended calendar has semesters and quarters as equal as possible. You see the numbers there. We'll have 84 days in first semester, 85 in the second semester. Fall break is included, and the 5-day break is attached to a PD day just to reduce the number of intermittent days that we have off. Again, part of our culture and a strong retention tool for our staff. Election days, those are in the calendar as non-student contact days. Our teachers will participate in professional development. Winter break is included. It provides an 8-week break, 12 with the weekends for staff and students. There is some flexibility there, and I appreciate all the comments we've already received since the presentation has been presented. We'll take a look at that and see if there are some changes that we can make to extend that break. It is always difficult when you have a lone Monday or a lone Tuesday for attendance, but we'll take a look at that and see if there are some other changes that we can make there. First semester, a winter break, is listed right now as December 24th through January 2nd. First semester will end on January 9th with finals planned on the 8th and the 9th of January. Our students will have 3 school days after returning from winter break to review content before their exams. Spring break is scheduled for 1 week. A majority of districts in the region provide a full week of spring break. And several years ago, with Ed Plus support, we had a lot of conversation as regional districts to try to have the same break so that families that had students or employees in one district, students in another, that they could enjoy that break at the same time. So we have set that as the 4th week in March for several years. It also is good for our students who are in those countywide programs, so they have the same schedule and don't miss those days or are going to those programs when Francis Howell is off. It does allow for some consistency. We will end this year after Memorial Day, even without snow, but before June, so we would end in the month of May. And our snow days, 1 through 4, are built in. 5 and 6 would be AMI days. 7 and 8 would be traditional snow days made up at the end of the year, and 9 and 10 would be AMI days. That schedule will be a little bit different for our high school seniors. And then the 6 PD days are also included in the calendar for professional development. So we would just ask our community to use the link that's included here for any comments or suggestions, and for staff, we'll include an article in the weekly Howell for them to provide their suggestions or comments. And board, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about this calendar or the process we've used to develop it.
Questions, board?
Have you gotten pushback from parents about the fact that the exams are given after winter break?
It was a big conversation when we brought the calendar committee together when that start date was changed by legislation. We had students that also participated in that task force, and we really relied heavily on their input. At that time, they felt that if they had some opportunity to come back and have some days of review, that they felt that was doable. And so that's where we have gone. I think it is ideal that students can finish their exams and go off to break and just enjoy the break. But it is very difficult with the legislation that has passed to have those semesters even. So that really does hinder us unless there are significant other changes that we would implore in our calendar.
I think, well, I can speak for myself. I would imagine that most of the rest of the board have gotten a few complaints about school letting out on December the 24th. And
I did see that in some of those comments.
I know
and
you mentioned it.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to be hard to move around, but...
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to take a look at that before we bring the draft back to you and see if we can extend that Christmas break. It may, again, those levers of the calendar, it may mean that the semesters or the quarters aren't as even as they were, but we'll definitely take a look at that before we bring it back to you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms.
All right, I'll see you in December.
All right, next on the agenda, just to make the community aware, there are a number of new policies up for first read for everybody's information that will be coming back to the board at a later date for discussion and vote. Take a look, we welcome your comments on those. Next, we have superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Bertrand. Last Friday, all of the schools in the Francis Howell District held Veterans Day celebrations to salute those currently serving and those who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces throughout our school community. On our social media sites, you can see the many amazing photos and videos showing the assemblies, student performances, artwork, and other celebrations that took place throughout the district, really celebrating the freedom of our country. I'd also like to, great thing to applause. I'd also like to take a moment to thank, we actually have many veterans who are working within the district now in many capacities, and we appreciate and celebrate their service to our country and now their service to the students and to our community. We're honored to have each and every one of them as part of our team. Last week, I had the opportunity, along with Treasurer Pushkar, to attend the One Howell Culinary Showcase that was formerly called the Iron Chef Competition. It provided our high school students with the opportunity to practice their cooking skills in a real-world setting. Teams from all three of our comprehensive high schools worked together to prepare a meal for the district's Senior Pals event, which took place that evening. We also had their family and friends there to support them. They had an opportunity to receive mentoring and feedback from professional chefs in that setting. So it was a great event. It's supported by Sodexo, our child nutrition partner, and our teachers who really helped prepare our students for that event. You heard earlier this evening that the district is celebrating American Education Week. This is a national recognition opportunity that's created as a way to celebrate public education and really honor all of the teachers and staff within the district who work tirelessly each day to make sure that all of our students have access to an amazing public school education. I'm also excited to share that the district once again will be working with our partner Sodexo to pass out free Thanksgiving meals to families who have that need in our community. The drive-up event takes place at the Burbis Building over on Central School Road, just across from the old admin building where transportation is now housed. If you'd like to volunteer, there is an opportunity to sign up currently on the homepage of the district's website. And last, just a reminder to everyone that next week is Thanksgiving break. There will be no school Wednesday through Friday. The district is actually closed completely on Wednesday. I am thankful and want to thank you, board members, for your service to the district and the community, and also the incredibly dedicated staff that we have that serve our 16,600 students each and every day. Thank you.
Any board member comments?
First of all, I'd like to thank Superintendent here for joining us tonight. Do you have anything you want to say to anybody? No? You're okay? All right. She shared with me it's been a long night, so I said to her I can really appreciate that. So she's normally in bed by this time, so she wants to get home. So really, yeah, I know, we saw that. I also want to thank Jen Simpson. She gave me a tour of the new transportation building. It was amazing. I used to be in that building all the time when I was the nurse coordinator here, so to see the changes that her and her team have made, it was really special, and I would encourage any of the board members to go look at that. She's got a pretty great program over there. And I want to thank everybody for the support the last couple of weeks. It hasn't been easy. I haven't been able to answer all the emails, and I apologize for that. But I think we're finally making the turnaround, and I appreciate everybody's support. Happy Thanksgiving, and just please, please, please be thankful for your family, because they're important.
Any other comments, board? All right, board, I would like a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Thanks everybody for coming.